So yesterday I had a date with a beautiful girl that ended up flaking on me. And I was annoyed for several hours after that. However, I actually ended up having another girl come over that night, and strangely enough, my anger disappeared. Now, on the surface, I thought it was just because of an abundance scarcity kind of interplay, but then I began thinking about how I had similar feelings in an outcome at work that didn't involve any kind of sexual dynamic. And once I began analyzing those two situations, I began to understand my anger differently and what I could do about it, which is what I want to share with you all today. So like I said, I had a hot girl coming over that I was attracted to, who I've already hooked up with. I was looking forward to seeing her again. And, I text her in the morning, just like good morning, and then no response for a lot of the day. And then, I'm already thinking like, oh, of course, she's gonna flake. You already know the writing on the wall. And then sure enough, maybe 6 or 7 hours later, I don't know, like 4 in the afternoon, she texts me saying that like, oh, she's out with her friends. And at this point, I was just kind of annoyed, and I was like, or whatever. Went back to my apartment and just kind of did my own thing. And then I actually got a text from another girl I've been trying to meet for a while who was down to come over. And immediately I forgot about the first girl. And then, as time went on, she came over, we had a good time and left, and my anger was completely gone, and I'd forgotten about the first girl, right? Now, it kind of reminded me when I was thinking about it, because I remember the first girl, and I was like, oh, I'm not mad anymore. Interesting. Why? And I then began thinking about another situation when I used to have a job, when I worked at a hospital as a psychologist. My supervisor was like increasingly micromanaging me. She bitched at me for walking around the office too much, even though I didn't have anything to do. We'd have these like productivity meetings, which I think was just, for show. So she could like check a box saying she did her part. And I have to pretend like I'm interested, and she has to pretend like she cares about me. And it was just this like BS dance that I became increasingly annoyed with her. And I just like couldn't stand her because I was just like, this is ridiculous. However, I began to thinking about it, and I realized, similar to the situation with the girl that flaked on me, I'm not really angry at that person. Just the way I'm not angry at my supervisor now. If you're seeing this, hey, best of luck. I wasn't angry at the girl, and I wasn't angry at the supervisor. What I was really angry at was the lack of power and control I had in both of those situations. I felt powerless. With the girl, I felt powerless because, she was 100% of my dating options that night. And at the job, I felt powerless because, I'm at this job for 8 hours a day, and I can't even like take a walk around the building even though I don't have anything to do. I just felt stuck. In both situations, I felt stuck. I think a lot of people get tripped up in these situations, like it's not just me, because they start focusing on the wrong things. They're like, why is this girl such a what? Why does dating have to be so hard? Why can't my boss just get off my back? Or for me, I was doing it like, why do I even have to have a job? Kind of arguing with what is, going against the river of life. And so unsurprisingly, when you start to argue with life, it's a recipe for unhappiness, but just also you begin to shift your attention on factors outside of your control, right? I'm not responsible for whether this girl, goes on a date that she said she was going to go on. I have zero control over that. I don't have control over what my boss tells me or, the pressures she might be facing. You don't focus on what you can't control. You identify, and this is a really big takeaway. So you identify the levers within your control and you move those levers. And if there really aren't any levers in that like situation, then you work on reframing it. And I'll give you some examples. So in this dating situation, rather than getting mad at the girl, would I have cared if I had 10 other girls that were down to come over? No. So instead of directing my anger at her in the external circumstances, which I'm really just mad because I felt powerless, okay, can I go talk to another girl? Can I go move to another area that has better dating options? Can I get on the dating apps for a few hours, which I recommend going to talk to girls in person for a few hours, but you do you. All these things are putting the lever of control back into my realm of influence. With the boss situation, okay? Can I go find another job? At the time, I knew I could get another job. And I wasn't willing to do so because I felt like I would still be miserable. We'll never know, but you know, you can see how the mind can talk yourself out of things. Other things I could do is like, oh, can I get another job? Can I start my own business? Which I did try to do, or actually, which I did do. But ultimately, identifying these levers, and then like, are you willing to work on it? Like maybe with the girl situation, I'm too scared to go talk to girls. Okay, so accepting it. You reframe it. This girl canceling me, great. Now I can catch up on Summer House, which is the reality show I'm unfortunately binge watching now. Not proud of it, but hey, I'm already 8 seasons in. I'm not going to stop now. So essentially, like if you can't identify a lever that you can change or you're willing to change, you reframe it to accept it. Like similar to like if you're in traffic, there's a lot of things outside of your control. If you literally cannot drive forward or backward, I would work on reframing it. Like, yes, now I have the time to catch up on my favorite audiobook. Or yes, now I can practice some diaphragmatic breathing through your diaphragm. I would say though, on average, if you can identify something within your control and hopefully you're willing to work on that, you're going to feel better than just trying to like reframe it, I would say on average. But everything's kind of context dependent. A lot of people have trouble identifying the levers. But I would say 90% of the time there are levers within your control. I think people get tripped up because they're like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. Or they say, I can't move because I don't have enough money. But really though, they have to identify other levers that would allow them to move. But people are very quick to write off, or I would say the mind is very quick to write off what's possible because they just sees more obstacles versus levers that might improve the probability of you getting what you want. Now, I kind of knew, like, at least with the girl situation, abundance solves most of your problems. And I would say that that's kind of related to the powerlessness, right? Scarcity and powerlessness kind of go hand in hand, whereas abundance and power kind of go hand in hand. So, with the job example, abundance, if I had abundance of money and, career opportunities that I think were more in line with my values, then I probably wouldn't give a shit about my supervisor because I could just walk out. Right? But the scarcity was intertwined with the powerlessness because scarcity was like, okay, I need this job because I need the money they're paying me and I'm going to have difficulty finding something else. Similarly, like with this girl's really beautiful. I'm really attracted to her. I have a scarcity mindset and I'm afraid I can't meet other girls like that. I'll wrap it up with this. I think it's important, like, your anger is healthy because there's a discrepancy between what you want and what you have. However, that anger can be counterproductive if you use it to blame the world, versus if you use that anger to work on the levers that are improving the odds of you getting what you want. So work on the levers, not on things you can't control.